He's one of our favorite voices on the worldwide leader in sports. And we figured with the NFL season coming up, and I was seeing his tweets during the college football weekend, and I'm like, let's get this man back on the program. He's Bomani Jones. How you doing, Bomani?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great. Your tweet about James Franklin made me laugh out loud, literally, like an actual audible. I don't like saying the letters LOL, but you saying essentially that he's the all-time great, potentially GOAT of winning games that the fan base wants him fired in the middle of. That one was great.
It always, like, it's not just, man, bad game from James Franklin. We got to fire this guy. And I'm like, hey, man, it wasn't that long ago that we didn't think y'all was going to have a program at all. They were trying to shut the doors on everything. You guys have been to a Rose Bowl with him. They stay ready to fire him.
And yet, yes, that was one of those games in the middle of it where both teams were struggling offensively, and Penn State comes out with the W in Wisconsin, where they're jumping around for the first time in over 600 days. It really was impressive, but that tweet made me laugh. That was a good one.
Man,
that was
I thought you were going to say something about my observations about jump around.
I'll give you the floor, Bomani. Go for it.
No, it's just one of these things. When it comes to, like, dancing and stuff, white people got poor self-esteem. Like, I think white people think that all black people can dance, and that's not true. Those of us who can't dance have been shamed into not dancing. I can tell you that firsthand. But in the end of 1991, Genesis put out this song called I Can't Dance, and I think that a lot of people leaned in. Like, you know what? You're right. I can't dance. So what? And then House of Pain, 6 months later, puts out Jump Around, and they're like, that's what we'll do. We will jump around. And not only will we jump around, we will receive clear instructions on when to jump. And boom, you got an anthem, man. If that's what people have been waiting on, just somebody to give them a little guidance.
Get up, and get down.
That's it. It's really very simple.
Yeah,
it's
very
pack it up, pack it in.
The instructions are simple. You're right. It's easy to follow. Gosh, that is funny, man. And we were talking before the show that there's not many of the kids who are, in fact, jumping around knowing who and what and how old that song really is. They have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
That hit me. Like, I was telling somebody that Jump Around is now 29 years old. So, like, if you heard Ohio State playing Hang On Sloopy in 1994, that's what Jump Around is now.
Hang on, stupid.
It's a similar it's a great analogy. That's Bomani Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show. Alabama looked like Alabama, and then the question is this over? Is this thing over already? Are we done? Are we done now after just one?
I don't
weekend?
know who or how. Like, who's going to sneak the win this year? Because if you're going to beat Alabama, you're typically going to sneak a win. And the one guy that could figure out how to sneak one was Malzahn. But he's not there anymore at Auburn. And I just can't – I never thought that a circumstance would come up where what Nick Saban would build first and foremost at Alabama was the new wide receiver U. And they just roll off. They all look the same. Like, they're all built the same. They're all about 6 feet tall, just about. Devontae Smith was a little smaller for this, but they're all about like 190, 195. They're all strong, like just tanks. And they're all always open. And they rolled off 2 or 3 of them last year. They can roll 2 or 3 more back in. It's just going to go like this every single year. Like, there is no drop-off at any point with them.
Well, did you see what Nick Saban said about Mercer coming up this week?
I did not.
They said that they have a different type of offense. That's what he said.
Hey, he's had trouble with that, though. They played one of those years where they had like an all-time great defense. I think it was 2012. They played Georgia Southern at the end of the year.
Yes.
And when ESPN would want to put up the statistics about how incredible Alabama's defense was, they always had to limit it to FBS competition because Georgia Southern gave them the blues with that triple option. And so they're going to win, but it is going to be – they're going to have some moments out there where they're just like, yo, man, what are we supposed to do with this?
It's a different kind of offensive team is the exact quote from Nick Saban, as Mercer's the one to take them on after they just pounded Miami. And, you know, I don't mean to be that way. Obviously, we're going to be excited about a college football season, and everybody always is, and it's great fun to watch. But I don't know, man. I know maybe Georgia. I mean, what Georgia just did to Clemson. And they don't play each other till the SEC championship game, but we're assuming is going to already go down. and
they're going to have to score some points, though. Like, Kirby going to have to figure out that playing Saban 1.0 is not going to beat Saban 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not going to have an offense that's consistently scoring 30, 40 points a game, I don't think they got enough offense to beat Alabama.
Bomani Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's the storyline for you, the NFL season 2021? 2 days away. What do you got for me on that?
I am curious, number one, honestly, how the Patriots are going to look with Mac Jones, because he's one of these guys that I feel like is really hard to forecast because nothing he did in college looks special. Not that he was not good, but the things that jump off the screen for you about a great college player, that's not his game. It's like if it's going to work, it's just going to be that he's remarkably efficient, and it's hard to tell how well somebody's going to do there in that way. But if he is halfway decent, I mean, this is still Bill Belichick, right? Like, this is still the Patriots. They went and reloaded a bit and got some guys. Like, I want to see how they wind up looking. The other story is, for me, sticking with quarterbacks in that division,
yes, sir.
I was a Josh Allen skeptic, and I guess to a degree I remain a little bit of a Josh Allen skeptic. But if he plays even close to as well as he played last year, the rest of that squad is loaded. They're right up there with the Chiefs in the AFC if he can maintain the level of play that we saw from last year.
Well, at week 5, in the same way that we're talking about, hey, it's all about who wins Georgia, Alabama from, for a game that we are assuming will happen in December. We know week 5, it's Bills and Chiefs. And that'll be some sort of a back pocket tiebreaker for one of these teams, even in a 17-game season moving forward. And last year, there was a whole COVID hoo-ha based on the Titans getting COVID, and it messed with the Bills' schedule, and the Bills and Chiefs were a reconfigured game that it didn't really feel like. That was the one where the Chiefs ran it down the Bills' throat. I think they ran the same running play like 90 times and just jammed it right down Buffalo's throat. I would proffer to say there could be a different result this year, but that's basically what a lot of people think the AFC shooting match could be for.
Yeah, the test to me about Buffalo is if you get some heat on Josh Allen because he panics, like that's the part that I question whether he can fix because panickers tend to panic forever. But if he reaches the point where when there is heat and he can just stand in there and make it happen, it's trouble for everybody.
Well, Emmanuel Sanders could be that guy as well to be added to that mix. What do you think, Bomani Jones, of the Browns' chances in 2021 here?
I mean, we all got the same problem, and it's that they're the Browns. Like, if they're not the Browns, all of our answers feel completely different because it feels like we've been hoodwinked, just by the idea of the Browns before. It's like with me and the Falcons. You're not getting me to fall for that again. I don't care how many Pro Bowlers. They got to have 53 Pro Bowlers. I'm not falling for this. I've seen this movie far too many times. But I am of the belief that getting Odell Beckham back helps a lot and will make a good offense even better, an offense that really doesn't need to throw the ball very much and really should be relying on the run, and I think that's what they're going to keep doing in that Kubiak-type scheme that they run up there. That plus the defense they seem to have, like they should be right up there. And I really feel like if they wore any other jerseys, that's the way that we would talk about them. But it just don't feel right.
Well, I mean, look, you're spot on every single thing that you just said right there. But it's a Baker Mayfield world that we're living in for Cleveland, and if he shows up better this year than his improved version last year, they could be very difficult to stop. And Odell, that was the part of the conversation last year that just didn't compute, that team's better off without Odell. He was doing his own thing, sometimes running routes that weren't really there, and Baker tried to force it in there. And the minute he was gone, things kind of opened up. I'm not going to buy that. I won't buy that because he's such a difference maker. That Odell winning comeback player of the year to lead the Browns, I don't know if that's pie in the sky stuff, but that would be something else. That would be something else, Bomani.
Yeah, I feel like the only people who are making those arguments about Odell Beckham are people who are mediocre themselves. Like, only mediocre people try to sit around and try to figure out how it is that this excellent person is actually bad for the larger operation. And I think that in media, because Beckham is so flashy, that we make assumptions about what it must be like to play with him. The guys that play with him love him. Like, it's not like he's one of these guys who doesn't work hard. He grinds. He's on it. And if Mayfield can't figure out how to do this with Beckham out there, then the problem is ultimately on Mayfield. But I think that they're going to set up an offense that doesn't require Baker Mayfield to do very much. And if he doesn't have to do very much and just has to do those things well, I think that's something that he can pull off.
You know, is the greatest teammate, one of the greatest teammates I've had is Dion. And when he first came into NFL Network, you heard, well, he's Dion, he's flashy, he's this, he's that. Everybody loves the guy. Playing, working with him. I don't understand the way the flashiness comes to be. I guess if somebody is more is an individual pounds of chest or something like that, that suddenly you're viewed as is not, as you pointed out, an excellent part of the collective. I don't get that one.
Even if you get a guy like Terrell Owens, where the problem with Terrell Owens wasn't that everybody hated him, it's that some people hated him and the rest of the guys loved him, and then you had an issue. Like, if everybody could get behind hating him, it wouldn't be a problem, right? There wouldn't be anything that wound up being divisive, but a cat like him works so hard, and you know he's going to bring it every time. And I find, especially with football players, if they know you're going to bring it, they'll let a lot of stuff go.
So, The Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast, host and commentator from ESPN, Bomani Jones here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who do you have as your Super Bowl pick for this year? Who do you have for me on that front?
I think the Chiefs are going to win it all. I think the Chiefs would have won it last year if they had just tried out like 5 fat dudes they got off the street to go block. Like, I'll never forget when I turned on the Super Bowl and they did the graphic with, the offensive line starters for the Chiefs, and I saw Mike Remmerts at left tackle, and I didn't recognize who anybody else was. I was like, oh, my pick is wrong. My pick is very wrong, and my pick was dead wrong. Now they went and got Orlando Brown. I think Trapper Joel MD is coming back from Canada up there saving lives during COVID and all of this. They'll be, if they're better up front than they were last year, then I don't think anybody's better than them.
Who do they beat then? Who comes out of the NFC?
I'm still leaning toward Tampa Bay on that one. They just have so many guys. I tried to get out in front on the Tom Brady is falling off thing in 2014, and all they did was win a Super Bowl. So I'm never doing that again, and nobody else is doing that again. I'm just saying we just can't keep expecting the 44-year-old guy, however old he is now, to keep being as good as he was last year. And for a lot of the postseason last year, he was not good. He was not good against the Saints. He was not good in a couple of those other games. Like, he still is Tom Brady, but he is not like 2007 Tom Brady or anything like that. And so to keep asking that guy to produce on a level that is to win a Super Bowl, if he can do it, it's amazing. He might not be able to do it this year. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying every year might be the year, and I've been saying that for 7 years.
Who's the team that could prevent him then from getting back?
Oh, if I look over there, Aaron Rodgers does still play for the Packers. Like, you might not be happy about it, but he is still over there. And if he can, if they look anything like they did last year, I think they got a chance.
I agree. What about the Cowboys, though? What about them?
Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Like, how much defense is Dan Quinn going to bring? Because Mike Nolan with them was just absolutely dreadful, particularly early in the year. I don't think there's too much to worry about with Prescott in the ankle because that was a broken bone and not a ligament situation. And so I think he comes back okay. I think they're going to be able to put up points. If they have a competent defense, then they'll win the East, and they'll be a team that has a chance to beat everybody. If they have a good to very good defense, then they have a chance to win the NFC. Not that they will, but they have a legitimate chance.
Well, Monty Jones, I love your opinionating and the way that you put it into words. It really is terrific. You're one of one, sir, and I'd love to have you back on whenever you wish. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. I'm here for you.
Right back at you. The Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast. Bomani Jones here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.